was saying, I'm going to go ahead and continue. For those of you guys on the audio side, I just had, a connection issue, but I think everything's all right for now. So anyways, as I said before, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some NBA players who I feel have the opportunity to be stars in the NBA. And again, this is really just my opinion. If you guys think I missed a couple of people, then, just go ahead and let me know in the comments. And, the first player that I just want to talk about is Cade Cunningham. And he's really, he's a really talented guard as it is in the, on the Detroit Pistons. And, he could be the team, I feel like he's already the guard that the Pistons want to build around. And, he averages a really decent 24 points, 7 assists, along with, that was sort of after the end of All-Star break. And he also had a pretty decent turnover percentage of 12.3, and, with a usage rate of 33.8. He also was able to make 39% of his threes and was able to make 51% of his mid-range pull-ups. So Cade Cunningham, and the fact that this is one of his, relatively younger years as a player in the NBA, he could be a really dangerous player for the Detroit Pistons for many years. So I really think that Cade Cunningham, this is he's a pretty worthy inclusion for this list, because he is one of those players in the NBA that's you can't guard him. He's really difficult to guard. If you watch him play, I understand he plays for the Pistons, and a lot of people like to make fun of the coaching situation that he was in last year, and how the rotations, they could have been so much better than what they were. And he was, for the most part, scoring a lot of points in garbage time for the Detroit Pistons. And so a lot of his points, they might be a little bit, I guess you could say, inflated, if you want to use that term. I know that's that term is it rubs a lot of people the wrong way, especially when you talk about somebody like Cade, because it's what do you expect him to do? Do you expect him to just not produce enough points? Do you expect him to not try to produce as many points as he can? And to that, I understand why a lot of people wouldn't really like that term, but that's sort of the impression that Cade Cunningham really gives off. And if he wants to give off the impression of being a notable scorer in this league, he's going to have to be he's going to have to lead this team to a lot of wins. But aside from that, he does have the potential of being a really good star in this league. Next player on this list is Brandon Miller for the Charlotte Hornets. Now, a lot of people, they don't really... He got a second chance for the Charlotte Hornets, which a lot of people weren't sure if he really deserved. But he is he is a second-year player, and it's... He's 21 years old, so the age needs to be taken into consideration. And the fact that he's 21 years old and he's averaging 17 points and 2.4 assists, as well as averaging 1.5 steals and blocks, while also being able to play a pretty decent amount of defense, again, for his age, because you also have to consider his age when you're looking at things like this, because, again, being 21 years old and averaging 17 points is, it's pretty decent, considering how he also shoots 37% from 3 in almost 7 attempts per game. And that's very, very impressive. And he has the tools to being a very crafty, a very skilled offensive player, but obviously you need to have wins in order to back this up. So the same thing really applies, from the same thing that I said to Cade Cunningham applies to Brandon Miller in this case, because like if you don't have the wins to back it up, if Charlotte doesn't end up getting in that playoff conversation, then there's no way that he's even going to be considered of being a kind of, a star player. Like the reason why Trae Young was being called a star was because he was getting wins. Now that he's not getting that many wins, a lot of people are more skeptical on what he is in the NBA. And, people, non-casuals are going to tell you that Trae Young is a star, but can you trust that everyone is going to tell you that? Not really. And so that's really what Brandon Miller is going to suffer from, just the fact that he can't win. But one of these players, well, actually the next player coming up doesn't have that problem. Keegan Murray for the Sacramento Kings. Now that the Kings are a winning team, they finally figured it out. Keegan Murray can be part of it, and they ended up drafting him. And while they might not enjoy the same offensive agency as everybody else on the list, there is more depth in his the way that he plays on the ball, and as opposed to most of the other players. Now the Kings, they sort of have to figure out how Keegan Murray fits in the rotation now that they have DeMar DeRozan, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, and Domantas Sabonis, who are all, most likely going to be better than Keegan Murray this coming season, and are most likely going to be better options for the team in this coming season. But part of the reason why Keegan Murray gets a lot of appeal from the Sacramento Kings doesn't really matter, because like his motor is like, it's incredibly, it's one of the best motors in the entire league, aside from maybe Westbrook, who can continue playing like when even in triple overtime after playing maybe 46 minutes in a regular game. Like Russell Westbrook's motor is that strong. And Keegan Murray was able to increase his scoring from 15 points per game, and over the years, and his scoring isn't really in question. Sabonis loves to set everyone else up. So DeRozan and De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk all bring very dynamic and diverse playmaking to the table, and Murray, for his part, is going to just need to capitalize on that playmaking. He was able to make 37% of his spot-up threes last year, and was also able to shoot 40% in post the All-Star break, and was also able to finish in the 74th percentile of efficiency. So if any of the Kings just so happen to lose any players, in the future, then, they have a pretty solid player in Keegan Murray to bounce back off of, either one of those players. Like if they go injured, if, God forbid, one of them just doesn't agree on a contract, they do have a really solid player in Keegan Murray. So, I don't think the Kings are really going to lose sleep in their talent. And another team that isn't really going to lose sleep in their talent wheel is OKC, having Jalen Williams, Jalen without a Y. And, just to let you know, because there's a couple of Jalen Williams in the NBA, and, two of them play for OKC, and two of them are actually really important for OKC. But this Jalen Williams, he kind of occupies the space that Tyrese Maxey held entering in last season, where he was like already a star who seemed like he was already a star in the making, and really he was behind another star guard in SGA, really holding him back. And playoff struggles are they're kind of acceptable now in this era of the Thunder, considering how they are a relatively young team. But the Thunder still need a second high level shot creator and a shot maker if they really want to compete in today's playoffs. And a lot of people are thinking that this guy is going to be that guy. And Williams was able to, broaden his horizon a little bit offensively. Fewer than 10% of his three-point makes were unassisted as a rookie, and that exploded to 25% in the last season. So, he's been really improving on his three-point shot. Excuse me. And Jalen was also able to end up being one of the best ball handlers in the on the team. 37% of his possessions from up to 26% ended up him having the role as ball carrier and driver. 14.5 per 36% per 36 minutes, up to 11.3 drives in like per 14 minutes per game. And he's just one of those players that has if SGA didn't really have the ball as much, then I think Williams will be perfectly fine with the scoring, and they really just have to figure out how to implement him in that offense. And if they can get both of those players working together, then that'll just make their life easier trying to implement the next player into the offense, which is Chet Holmgren. And similar to how SGA was, considered as one of the league's or one of the team's most important assets, Chet Holmgren, after one season with the Thunder, was already getting, hyped up as the best player in the entire class. And a lot of people were even considering that Chet Holmgren could end up winning Rookie of the Year over somebody like Victor Wembanyama. And even though Chet didn't win Rookie of the Year, he ended up making second place. He also ended up playing 82 games, and started all 82 of them, which was way more games than Victor ended up participating. And Chet also, he was arguably the second option for the team. And to think that this isn't the best version of Chet Holmgren, again, he was being compared to Victor, so this means he is a 7'2" center that can handle the ball pretty well and shoot the ball very efficiently. And there was a time where Chet Holmgren actually shot the ball better than Victor Wembanyama from the field, and he also ended up shooting a lot better from three. So really now the competition and Chet Holmgren's expectations are to continue playing as well as he's played, and possibly take on a much bigger role as the second option for the team. And once he ascends to that second option, then the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be a much more dangerous team to look out for in the future. And they already have a possibility of being the best team in the NBA right now if every single one of them, just ends up doing their part and more. Chet Holmgren is just a breakout season away from making this team a legitimate contender in for seasons to come. In fact, you could argue that they were a contender when they lost to the eventual Western Conference champions in the Dallas Mavericks. Again, that's a Western Conference championship team. So losing to that team is it's not really the end of the world, especially when you want to consider the fact that they were one of the younger teams entering into the postseason. So that's all that I have to say in regards to that, into that statement, as well as my opinions on the future stars of the NBA. So now in this third segment, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Anthony Edwards revealing that some players on Team USA ended up getting drug tested after their hold on just 1 second. Okay, there we go. I don't know why my connection is this bad, but I should be able to get it fixed soon, but I don't know why it's being this bad. But anyways, for this third segment, I'm going to go ahead and continue to, I'm going to talk about some of the players that were drug tested in the Olympics. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned for that segment and, to hear my thoughts. And let me know in the comments if you have opinions on some of these players getting drug tested, if you think that Anthony Edwards isn't telling the truth, or if you just have a hot take that you want to say. We are all ears, but I'll be right back after this short break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.